Good evening and welcome to Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Our top stories in the news tonight: members of parliament condemned for increasing their allowances. Some Lusaka residents express doubts in the fight against corruption. The Socialist Party bemoans poor performance of the 2022 national budget. In international news, pro-democracy protests continue in Sudan. And in sports news, Copper Queens play Cameroon in the African Women's Cup of Nations. Hello once again, another news in detail. Some mobile money booth operators in Lusaka's Munali constituency in Charleston Township are disappointed with the approach taken by the Lusaka City Council in the demolition of booths across the country. In an interview with Camnet News, Mwakoi and others say the authorities are not giving formal notification as to when they will dismount the booths. 2nd July 2022, the Lusaka City Council demolished some mobile money booths at the Charleston Bazaar in Charleston area. More in this report.
1st April 2022, Lusaka City Council conducted an operation to remove illegal makeshift stores from some areas in Lusaka. The move that followed a council resolution at its sitting on 14th December 2021 to undertake a verification exercise of all trading structures around markets and bus stations. In this case, the makeshift stores or booths in question did not apply for the planning permission as stipulated in the Urban and Regional Planning Act of 2015 before putting up these structures, hence making it an illegality. However, some booth operators at Charleston Bazaar are disappointed in the manner in which Lusaka City Council is conducting the demolishing of the named structures. Camnet TV spoke to some who had this to say.
We were visited by Lusaka City Council who have come to demolish our mobile money booths. They say it's a directive from State House. So they are saying that they don't want any structures along Great East Road. But if you are to come here and see the distance between Great East Road and where our booths are, our mobile booths are, there's quite a distance. So we're failing to understand why they've come and without warning, they didn't give us a notice, they didn't give us a grace period to say within 1 week all of you should vacate the premises. Nothing. They've just come and said that we have to vacate.
The council people did not give us. They are late to say they are coming to take the booth and the other staffs here. So I think the decisions that they have made wasn't a fair decision.
They allege that they are not given formal notification as to when the institution would dismount illegal structures.
Demolishing all the booths along Great East Road. Although our location is somewhat far from the Great East Road, this council policeman said he has received orders to remove everything, every booth along this road, and we are all affected. So he said he was not even supposed to talk to us, but he was just supposed to remove the booth that are along this road. We tried to ask him some questions. He was so upset that He's not even supposed to talk to us. He's just supposed to remove and demolish, because those are the orders he has received.
The council reserves the right to regularize, after payment of penalty fee, structures without documents or order the removal of trading structures that have encompasses. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Shuangandu Member of Parliament Stephen Kampyongo has maintained that the fight against corruption in the country is politically motivated and targeted at former government officials. Mr. Kampyongo alleges that corruption in the country is being fought selectively. But political analyst Bizek Perry feels that the corruption fight in the country is gaining momentum.
He has scored 33 points out of 100 on the 2021 Corruption Perception Index reported by Transparency International. The Corruption Perception Index ranks countries and territories based on how corrupt their public sector is perceived to be. A country or territory score indicates the perceived level of public sector corruption on a scale of 0, highly corrupt, to 100, very clean. While corruption remains prevalent in the country, even though the situation is considered relatively better compared to other countries in the region, Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has been vocal on fighting the vice. But many people have been skeptical on the fight against corruption, as no conviction has been secured on prominent cases. But what do ordinary citizens in the central business district of Lusaka feel about the fight against corruption?
But corruption, Africa government yanganepo makamaka kuma companies, are corruption. I'm telling you the truth.
Ingane corruption sizakasira kwina kulikose mwende kumanda pesa katiai manda niyo kumba kudala yose je ni corruption indana na kumba manda before pamene yu mumwa inu akiwamaliro mkalipo kumba manda so corruption muno mzambia sizakasira I corruption utisire ni panpovuta maningi but pali monga ino time vaisamunga vachepanako.
However, the case is different from Shuangandu Member of Parliament Stephen Kampyongo, who feels the corruption fight is political.
Where is this selective nature of handling people coming from? Yes, no one is above the law, but we want to see justice being done without pictures of the media. Things only pointing to Patriot Front. What about the ruling party? How did they campaign? Where did they get their campaign funds from? Who procured the motor vehicles for them?
Where did they get my interest?
So these are things that we want to see. If indeed we are talking about equity before the law.
Meanwhile, political historian and analyst Professor Bizek Perry believes the corruption fight in the country is currently in the right direction.
This strong fight, we've heard of people being summoned before the courts of law, property being seized by the state, and so on and so forth. Because if they are suspecting that those properties were acquired using dubious means or the money which was stolen, and this has continued. Now, that in itself, it's a strong indicator.
Professor Perry calls for more resources on the fight against corruption.
It can be fought, but it requires the powers that be to be focused.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News in Lusaka.
Some members of the general public in Zambia's capital Lusaka have criticized members of parliament for opting to increase their earnings amid social and economic challenges prevailing in the country. Parliament on Tuesday, 30th June 2022, allegedly unanimously approved to increase up to 17% salaries and allowances paid to members of parliament. The increment means that MPs will on average take home 80,000 kwacha and be entitled to 3,000 kwacha per sitting and enjoy a $120,000 car loan. However, our efforts to validate the available claims could not materialize by broadcast time, as most members of parliament did not comment. Here is a report by Patrick Soko.
At a time when the country is in economic recovery mode, Parliament on Thursday, 30th June 2022, unanimously approved the increase of up to 17% salaries and allowances paid to members of parliament. The increment means that MPs will on average take home 80,000 and be entitled to 3,000 per sitting and enjoy $120,000 car loan. During the debate held in Camera, MPs adopted the report from the Parliamentary Reforms and Modernization Committee, which recommended that salaries and other benefits be adjusted upwards. It comes at a time when President Hakainde Hichilema has been preaching servant leadership.
Once we accept to serve the public, we must acknowledge that we are here to serve and not to be served.
This makes people wonder if at all UPND members of parliament share the vision of their party leader, who has even given up his salary.
I am funded by myself. The little investments we made when we were working for ourselves for such a long time under difficult time is now to allow others to have access to opportunity.
Still on the historical context, the Patriotic Front, during the suspension of some of its members from participating in parliamentary business, claimed that money was not the motivation, but serving the people.
Being a parliamentarian myself, I know what I'm talking about. Huh? So, don't be bothered about them talking about emoluments, because after all, you're not there for emoluments. You are there to represent your people.
However, members of parliament have come under scrutiny from members of the general public who feel parliamentarians just represent their selfish interest.
So civil servants wafuna kundamaza zote wabaikire wasabarundire salary wasifuna yamba 15 pina mafoni ngati yofapakira ma NP nanga baje bena ngwari kumbuye kuri watu ma NP bazamufala fichani abengu social money sidi much.
Perhaps this qualifies the verse of Ecclesiastes 5 verse 10, which states that whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income.
This is not the right time to start talking of pay rise or increase in the allocation of their vehicle allowances. This is not the right time. This is a time to work for the people.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Some members of the general public, Opposition Plenary Front PF Chairperson for Information and Publicity, Raphael Nakachinda, has advised party members to focus on reorganizing the former ruling party, as opposed to channeling their resources and energy to succession issues. Mr. Nakachinda tells Camnet TV News in an interview that all PF presidential hopefuls should unite and wait for the right time to elect the party's president. Mr. Nakachinda maintained that only the right president for the party will be known after the people's verdict is passed regarding the person they want to lead the party.
Well, the time for us to start giving a profile on who should be the right person is yet to come. For now, we are focused on reorganizing the party, and there is a committee that has been mandated to start preparing and organizing the convention. When the time is right and the nominations are opened, then we'll begin to discuss the quality and type of leader that may have to be considered by Patriotic Front. But for now, we don't want to start debating.
Acting Republican Progressive Party President and member of the UPND Alliance, Cassius Akapelwa, has charged that they are not moved by the recent meeting that was held by 12 opposition politicians to help map out a strategy to unseat the UPND Alliance. More in this report.
The opposition Patriotic Front Party continues to be in full flames with the hope of bouncing back into government after it lost to the United Party for National Development in the 12 August 2021 general elections, just like other opposition political parties seeking to be ushered in office in 2026 on account that the current administration has failed to meet the promises it made to the Zambian people. Last month, up to 12 opposition political leaders, among them the Patriotic Front, the National Democratic Congress Party, Economic and Equity Party, among others, met in Lusaka in order to map out a strategy to provide broader checks and balances to the UPND administration, which they believe has lost its compass through a mountain of lies and failed promises.
Successful meeting here today. 12 opposition leaders met today to discuss the affairs of the country and to chart a way forward, to give hope to the Zambian people on the failures of the UPND, because as opposition, we are the government in waiting, and we just want to agree on how to operate and work with each other.
The message is very clear, okay, that the UPND government came into power with the trademark of lies.
Despite opposition political parties being vocal in criticizing the current administration and accusing it of failing to fulfill its promise, however, the UPND administration continued to argue that it is quite early to accuse it of failing the people of Zambia, if it has not yet even clocked a year in government, but has at least been able to bring certain changes that anyone is able to attest to. And adding to that, the UPND alliance claims that it is not at threat with any formation that the opposition political parties might try to form. Commenting on the said recent meeting held by the 12 opposition leaders last month, acting Republican Progressive Party president and member of the UPND alliance, Kesha Zakapelwa says the UPND alliance is not threatened by anything.
So to be threatened because there are alliances that are being formed within the opposition political parties, I think that's part of democracy, and that's what we are encouraging. The political space right now, today anyone can go and hold a rally. They will not be disrupted. And that's what we've been thirsty for as a nation, where citizens can gather as long as there's peace and order within the premise of law, that people can belong to any organization that they so fit they can. But to go with a view of wanting to unseat the government that was elected by the Zambian people, that is not going to be allowed. So let that formation be allowed within the opposition and push the government to offer checks and balances. So that's what we are actually asking for, and that's what we want to see.
Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The opposition Socialist Party has charged that the 2022 national budget has not lived up to its expectation on various issues. In an interview, party chairperson for mobilization Horace Longwe says the 25.7 million kwacha is way too much to be allocated to each constituency, as there is no capacity among local authorities to manage such huge funds at a constituency level. He has since advised the ruling United Party for National Development UPND government to revise their approach on CDF.
I'd like to draw your attention to the performance of this year's budget, the 2022, which has been a total failure. Why the budget itself is not in rhyme with what the expectations from the Zambian people, in the sense that the 2022 budget, the government overpromised in many areas. For instance, if you look at the CDF, the way it was handled, I think that money, 25.7 million, was just too much to be given into a constituency. I believe that we still do not have capacity on how our parliamentarians or the people responsible for handling of CDF should have done. And the government itself, this has proved to be a disaster. So I'm encouraging the government to rescind or to reschedule this, revise the whole system. That money which has been pronounced, I believe, is just too much for a constituency, and probably we should revert to the normal system or the normal amount which was being handled. Or if it's an increment, at least we have to do a gradual one, not as enormous as it is. Because we have seen from what has happened, a lot of things, for instance, in Eastern Province, the distribution of inputs emanating from the same budgeting system Inputs were diverted in some areas. Farming inputs, again, you find that were stolen, and the government has kept quiet on those matters.
United Party for National Development Youth Provincial Chairperson Anderson Banda has urged political parties to observe unity in diversity in order to steer national development. Commenting on the upcoming Unity Day, Mr. Banda says all political parties should cooperate with one another for development and peace to continue prevailing. More in this report.
The significance of Heroes and Unity Day, which falls on the 4th and 5th of July in the Zambian history, should never be forgotten. Heroes Day is set aside for Zambians to remember those who fought in the struggle for Zambia's independence in 1964, while Unity Day helps foster solidarity between the diverse groups that make up the country. To help create a sense of Zambian identity, Unity Day was established by Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, the first Republican president of Zambia, with an aim of fostering solidarity between the various groups and maintaining the spirit of national unity. As the country gets to celebrate the two events on Monday and Tuesday, United Party for National Development Youth Provincial Chairperson Anderson Banda has urged political parties to strengthen national unity in order to grow and develop the country economically as the country gets to celebrate the day on the 5th of July.
Not long time ago, a few days ago, we saw the president chatting with the former head of state in church. And in that gesture, it brings unity even to the lower structures and also to the public. So to me, we need to continue preaching about unity, and politics should not divide us. Politics should not bring division in our communities and in our country, because we are one Zambia.
Meanwhile, Mr. Banda says Zambia has enjoyed a stable political environment since independence, hence the need to continue, and should serve as a reflection as the country gets to celebrate the said national event.
If one belongs to another political party, the other to other political parties, they should not look at each other as enemies. They should look at each other as stakeholders in fostering development of our country. And that should be exhibited through what we talk to what we tell the people and what we talk to our members. We should talk about peace, we should talk about unity, and the Unity Day which we are about to celebrate will always make sense. If at all the situation on the ground, there's peace and unity, people are able to respect each other, I'm sure it will be even worth it to celebrate the Unity Day by behaving well, by uniting as a country, the way it has happened now. Our country was deeply divided on tribal and regional lines because of bad politics, because of disunity which was fermented by selfish politicians who wanted to use that as tool to cling on to power. But Zambian people are very wise and they believe in unity.
Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
United Party for National Development UPND Youth Chairman Gilbert Liswaniso has charged that the opposition Patriotic Front Party's appetite to marginalize the Tonga-speaking people of Southern Province did not die with their loss in the 2021 general election. Commenting on a list circulated on social media on one of the PF blogs, Mr. Liswaniso says it is misleading for the PF to insinuate that only individuals from Southern Province have been appointed into foreign service when it is evident that all provinces have been included. Recently, a list was posted on one of the PF blogs which indicated that all newly appointed diplomats were all from the Southern Province.
The country has not forgotten how the PF will have diplomats in the likes of Emmanuel Mwamba, abandon work, participate actively in politics and return to the mission thereafter. Today, we have seen a list which is promoting division, which I call it's a propaganda machinery. They're on overdrive, trying to project what they have always stood for. And that is not good, that is division on its own. Ours as a party, as a government, it will enhance professionalism, unity, hard work, and sell our country as the best destination for investment in the different sector. This is what the UPND and really our presidents are trying to do to this nation. So we have seen what the PF, and even those who are trying by all means to divide this country. But for us as UPND, as a government, we are not going to concentrate from what they are trying to bring. We'll concentrate to bring professionalism, unity to this country. The people of Zambia should benefit from the people who are their children, who are going to give an opportunity to save us in various missions across the nation, across the world.
This is Camnet Television and not just another channel. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news after this break.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development Permanent Secretary for Administration, Mambo Hamaundu, is optimistic that the decentralizing of the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, will revive and stimulate the economic activities that had stalled in the recent past. Mr. Hamaundu notes that the CDF's 25.7 million kwacha per annum will improve 156 constituencies, which are small economies, and this will contribute positively and reverse the negative economic trends. He adds that beneficiaries of the CDF should invest in education and in small and medium enterprises because of the potential they have to boost the economy.
There is Constituency Development Fund again. This money will help revive economic activity, actually stimulate economic activities. You are essentially looking at 156 small economies, which will have 25.7 million per annum. There will be a number of activities that will happen there. And I'm very positive that with this money being made available, we'll definitely see an improvement that will contribute towards the reversal of the negative economic trends which we have seen in the past year, 2, 3, or perhaps 4. So that would be my thinking on this. Because look, already we are now saying government is encouraging members of the Constituency Development Committees to invest the money that they've been given in desks.
Some senior citizens in Lusaka's Kalikiliki compound of Munali constituency have appealed to the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services to pay attention towards addressing challenges affecting the aged in society. In an interview with Camnet News, the aged say most of the times they are prone to poverty. Nelson Zulu has more in this report.
The Zambia National Policy on Aging defines an older person as one aged 60 years or older. However, the aged in the country continue to face a number of challenges, among them social exclusion. Myths are among the challenges associated with the aged, especially in rural communities where the elderly people are suspected of practicing witchcraft. Among the difficulties, poverty is highly pronounced among them. To this extent, some senior citizens in Lusaka's Kalikiliki compound have appealed to the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services services to improve their living standards. Due to inability to work and earn a living in their old age, households with old people are among the poorest in the country. As a response to the issue of aging, the Zambian government is a signatory to international treaties such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The aged in Kalikiliki disclosed to this reporter some challenges they face.
Ambuya Yesu angenera mtima yanu kuti muniletere chakudya. Semina kona njala pano.
A Good Samaritan, Enesh Mtale, says there is serious need for senior citizens to be considered in society.
I have to say that people are really in need of stuff, not just a lot, anything that anybody can give. Could be a meal, could be soap, could be a jersey, anything. It really goes a lot.
And Pause of Aged Foundation Executive Director Gabriel Temple also added his voice.
Yes. For the donation to the House Foundation of the Aged. We are so impressed. This will go a long way because here in Karikiriki there's so many underprivileged people over the age of 70 who need to be helped. Thank you so much. We only hope that other donors will come in the way you come.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News in Lusaka.
Chiliraombwe Council Director of Public Health, Gift Sakanye, has implored community members to work hand in hand with the council to keep Chiliraombwe clean. The Director of Public Health is dismayed with the increase in the number of refuse points within the district. Mr. Sakanye called on the members of the general public to partner with the council to keep their surroundings clean so that they all enjoy good health and sanitation.
The truck drivers, please let's be just cautious on how we're using the bridges. Having in mind that I think the season that we are in now, I think it's quite windy, and we are likely to anticipate as kind of escaping fire that can just come out, that can cause an accident that we don't want, because there could be, especially that the trucks, they're carrying flammable materials. They are prompt to I think to flammable, and they wouldn't want to have any problem I think from the tankers and so on and so forth. So that's our call from the driver, and even as they manage their waste, like I just did mention that actually we want all of them. It's just a call, and that they need to have something on their vehicles, like maybe some kind of the bins within themselves whenever they're using. Whenever they are done, I think as they pass through our district, they'll be able to use the platform that we have provided along the main international road for management of waste. I think that way is going to help us than just dumping throughout everywhere in the environment. We wouldn't want to see that. We want to maintain, want to make sure that whenever people are coming within our district, we have a cleaner environment. I think that's what we want, because cleanness is next to godliness. We wouldn't want to have litter everywhere. I think that will help us also manage our waste.
The Zambia Association of Manufacturers says the local manufacturing sector has the required capacity to supply the domestic market for some products, especially those in the food and beverages sector. Association policy analyst Zondwayo Duma, however, says Zambia lacks the capacity in the engineering products because entrepreneurs in the manufacturing sector have not invested in the engineering machinery. Mr. Duma says because of lack of investment in the engineering equipment, Zambia cannot do away with exports of engineering products, as manufacturers have no capacity to supply and meet the local market demands of such products. Mr. Duma has urged the manufacturing sector to take advantage and invest in the engineering products subsector and produce for the local and regional ready market.
Also very dependent on what products exactly that you are referring to. We have capacity to supply the domestic market for some products, especially those in the foods and beverages sector. But in others, we may not necessarily have the capacity. Talk about engineering products. For some, we don't even have any company that's providing them. So we cannot do away with imports. Imports are important in this case to supplement that deficit. Our biggest challenge has been that we tend to have a lot of commodities that are produced way cheaply are coming onto our markets, and because they are being produced at a higher economies of scale, they tend to be detrimental. The other example is going to be second-hand clothing, which is basically just a donation, and they have to compete with manufactured products that are paid for, which are going through a process, and you have to invest so much to produce them. So automatically second-hand clothing is going to be very cheap compared to the domestic manufactured products.
This is Camnet Television News. We take our second and final break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the ministry.
There's so much data.
Mom? Yes, baby?
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow! Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
Welcome back. And now in international news, thousands of protesters took to the streets of Khartoum on Saturday after 9 people were killed Thursday in demonstrations against the country's ruling generals. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
Thousands of protesters took to the streets of Khartoum on Saturday after 9 people were killed Thursday in demonstrations against the country's ruling generals. The Sudan's Doctor Committee, which is a medical group that monitors casualties from demonstrations, says security forces shot and killed 9 people, including a child, in or near Khartoum during the rallies on Thursday. I'm here to restore the transition to a civilian rule and to end the military coup, and I am here to say that we are insisting on our stance. No power sharing, no negotiations, no compromise, and the military has to go back to their barracks and to restore the civilian government. Thursday demonstrations coincided with widespread internet disruptions. The United States and others in the international community condemned the violence in the East African nation, which has been rocked by near-weekly protests since an October 25 coup appended its fragile transition to democracy. Kenya's long-time opposition leader and the party head of the Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, Raila Odinga, held presidential elections campaign in his hometown in Bondo, Siaya County in Kenya. Odinga in his address promised to address issues of education, corruption and poverty if elected in the August 9th election. There are 4 enemies that Kenyans are struggling with: poor health, ignorance, poverty and corruption. And I have given you my word that I will fight so hard to end these 4 enemies of Kenya. As Azimio Coalition, we shall establish free education from early childhood to university, and this will end ignorance. Some supporters have questioned the high amount of money being used by different politicians to conduct their campaigns due to lack of accountability and transparency in their expenditures and source of funds.
If you look at them, they are spending millions, billions in doing the campaigns. Some of this money have been stolen from the public. And when they come there, they tell you they are for the common mwananchi. The common mwananchi walks barefoot. The common mwananchi doesn't have food to eat. The cost of living has risen far much high. Even the employed like us, we are crying for it. But these people are using a lot of money.
I'm not happy with them spending a lot of money hiring choppers. But the choppers are very expensive. Per day, to hire a chopper is 200,000 shillings. And in a day, they only attend 2 or 3 rallies. And they started campaigning 4 months ago. Yeah? So they have spent a lot of billions and billions of shillings. Where are they getting that money from? It is from the taxpayers.
The East African economic powerhouse will hold presidential and parliamentary elections on August 9 in the shadow of previous polls, which have often been marred by ethnic violence.
It's now time for sports news. In sports news, Zambia have begun their 2022 Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations WAFCON campaign at the Mohammed V Stadium with a tasty fixture against Cameroon in a Group B opener. The match is the second fixture of the day. In the other Group B match, Tunisia will face Togo at 22 hours. It comes 2 years after the Copper Queens denied the West Africans a ticket to the prestigious 2020 Tokyo Olympics with a 2-1 victory at Nkoloma Stadium to go through to meet the world's best via a 4-4 aggregate score. With revenge fully written on Sunday's opponents, the Copper Queens remain unfazed, and coach Bruce Mwape has charged that his side is ready to produce a performance that will keep the team's first target of making it out of the group stages. The match is currently Zambia nil and Cameroon nil. Saturday, 2nd July 2022 saw the opening of the 2022 Africa Youth Championships in Lusaka, a tournament that has attracted 300 participants. The ceremony was graced by the Federation International de Ekesks FIDE President Arkady Djokovic last night, who encouraged the participants to give their level best in the tournament. And Chess Federation of Zambia President Mukubulo Chilufya notes that the game of chess must be given the recognition it deserves as it builds on an individual's mindset. More in the following report.
2nd July 2022 saw the official opening of the 2022 African Youth Chess Championships held in Lusaka, Zambia. The colorful ceremony was graced by the Federation International de Ekers, famously known as FIDE President Arkady Vukovic, among other officials. The tournament has attracted 300 participants in 13 African countries. Some of them include South Africa, Namibia, Kenya, and Egypt. Camnet Sports was on the ground and managed to get some expectations from the participants.
My expectation is I win at least 6 games because I know that my category is pretty tough. And I think I've prepared enough.
I'm hoping to win 7 out of the 9 games. I'm not really that prepared, but I'm mentally prepared.
And the Chess Federation of Zambia President Mukubulo Chilufya says Ministry of Youth, Sports and Art must strengthen chess in schools.
Continental event
Zambia is hosting it for the 3rd time. It is from such tournaments that we've seen international masters, grand masters mushroom. This is the level we need to protect and harness because it's a reservoir of talent across the continent. Guest of honor, sir, I would also love to state that we are very grateful for the support that we receive from the government of His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema towards the growth of sports in Zambia.
Chairperson Zambia Police Service Commissioner Dr. Peter Machungwa, who also spoke at the same event, encouraged participants in all the 5 categories to accept whatever results they will have.
For you who are participating, I want to emphasize that in any competition, there are those who are going to come out on top and those who will lose. If you lose here, that is not the end of the road. Learn something from the mistakes you make and the clever moves the one who beats you is making. It should be a lesson. Next time, work even harder so that at the next competition, you come out on top.
Meanwhile, FIDE President Arkady Vukovic says it would be nice to have representation of the Grand Chess Master coming from the African continent.
And other bodies, if we will work together, we can achieve great results. And we will. I have no doubt that we will do it. As my colleagues already said, the most important thing here at this tournament is that you will do your best. Some of you will win, some of you will not win, that's okay. But you will learn from what you will experience here at this championship. You will learn from your mistakes, you will learn from your wins, you will analyze your games, you will have fun with your friends, you will make new friends.
Blessings Chakwila, Camnet Sports, Lusaka.
To end Camnet Television News, we take a look at stories making headlines once again. Members of Parliament condemned for increasing their allowances. Some Lusaka residents expressed doubts in the fight against corruption. The Socialist Party bemoans poor performance of the 2022 national budget. In international news, pro-democracy protests continue in Sudan. And in sports news, Copper Queens play Cameroon in the Africa Women's Cup. Thank you for watching the news once again. My name is Jeffrey Siambo. Bye-bye.